Hi there folks, welcome to the video. This is Hardly Gaming, and today I'm just going to be bringing you a kind of updated guide to my a video I put up the other day. I've been playing this character now for a couple more days and I've got quite a few more levels. So my build has changed somewhat. Some of it's very much similar, and I've learned some stuff, so I'm just going to kind of update you guys. So without further ado, let's just pop into the actual build. So my skills, I believe these are the same ones. I have been messing about with them, but anyway, I've got my disintegration ray at as my single target damage. So this is for the enemies that just need more damage on them. Now the way I've done with this is I've come down to get the lightning node because the lightning heavy build. So this just dramatically improves its damage and abilities. I put 1 point up here in escalation. I have taken off points I had here just because I didn't have the points to spare. I'd love to have been able to maybe put amplification, but I just don't have the point for it. So escalation gives you an extra 150% damage. You do take more damage, but that's not an issue. You'll see why in a second. So what I've done is I've come down just to get the twin beam. That is really good. That's essentially 100% extra damage. It does say less damage, but it's so easy to get enemies hit with both beams, especially when it comes to bosses, which are generally quite larger. So yeah, I would highly recommend getting down to here, and I put maximum 5 points into here as well. That's just basic extra 5 damage. You possibly could, I'm just thinking, you could knock a point off that, or maybe even 2 points, and put a point into here, because that would give you an extra 100%, sorry, an extra 300% at tier 3, and that only gives you 50%. That's a choice. I might have a wee look into that. But what I've also done is I've put stored power, which gives you extra damage. You do get a delay before you cast, but that's taken off by your cast speed. And again, you'll see why that does not matter. So that's just free damage, that is. Now, I have had to put 2 points into here, which is actually quite handy. It slows the enemies, so it slows bosses that you're hitting. And I put 4 points into here into a Lucomancer. So when this is casting, when you're channeling, so you do more damage and you get a dramatically reduced cost, 40% reduced cost of mana, and that means I can have this cast pretty much as long as I want. I'm kind of doing the missions now where the enemies often have up to 200% extra health. So when you're going up against bosses with like 200 extra % health and they've got 50% extra elemental resist, you need the extra mana because you're going to need to cast longer to kill them. So that's a disintegrate ray. My second ability is going to be the good old teleport. This is pretty much a must-have for any mage build, I would say. I've gone all the way out here to the far right to get the Nova. This is a very, very nice ability. And I've gone all the way out to the far left just to get the lock phase, which I found to be very useful. Basically, whenever you teleport, you can't be stunned for 4 seconds. I put on here to get the maximum cooldown, and this, which is everyone I put on. This here, Elemental Affinity. This is also, I'd say, a must-have. Basically, when you do teleport, you have 50% extra elemental damage. So you teleport into a group, and you've already cast Nova on them, so they're already hurt from that. You've got more damage, and then you can cast your Nova normally, and it's just extra damage, so yeah, go for that, guys. So my next ability is going to be another must-have, I'd say, Flamewood. This is the thing with this game. I do think they're going to change some things, because when abilities become must-haves, I think that's kind of limiting it, because ultimately it means that most builds are going to be quite similar to each other. But anyway, this is my take on the Flamewood. So I have come around to get the lightning ward, so it's now lightning damage. Again, it's a massive benefit for my build because it's all lightning based. Make sure you get infusion. This gives you a massive damage buff, 250% extra damage. It does say fire damage, but if you read there, it does say it converts to lightning when you've chosen this. Now you're going to come down to get haste. This is just a quality of life. You don't need to have it, but I like it because of the amount of times I have this active. This essentially means that missions take 3 minutes instead of 6 minutes. That might not sound like a lot, but when you're doing 50, 60 missions, in a farming session, that takes up a lot of time. I've also come out here to get Flame Aura, and these are again quality of life. I just like the aura. It does a little bit extra damage, especially because I'm going to be up close. It just kind of helps take off a bit my enemy health. And then I've come up here to get Star Water Defense, Desperate Defense, and then over to here to Astonish. This has actually saved my life quite a few times. Basically, when you, if you're stunned and your Flamewood is on cooldown, it will automatically cast. There are times when I've teleported into a group of enemies, not really fully expecting how much damage I'm going to take, and this has actually saved my life. So I would recommend getting up here. I wouldn't go over here. I tried this. Joe Aegis. Basically, you get 2 casts, but you only have 1 cooldown. So the way it should have been was you get 2 casts, each are independent cooldowns. That, I think, would have been a much better option. But with this, basically, I don't really see the point of it. To me, it doesn't seem that useful. So I wouldn't go over that way. Now, the bread and butter is going to be the Fire Nova. Also the Elemental Nova, which I've got here. Now, I have changed it slightly. I've taken all of the points away from Arcane Elementorum. That's right, Elementorum. And what I've done is I've gone up here first to get the maximum duration, maximum distance, 150% extra. I've come up here to get Luminaire. So this is now a channeled ability. This is one of the things about this build. Both my damage and abilities are channeled abilities. And then I've gone here to get 3 points into Star Prism just to get the less mana cost. Again, really useful, especially with a channeled ability. This I would say is a must-have if you're going to use this. I've also then put 5 points into both of these. This just helps the initial damage plus spark charge, which is again more damage, and then 5 points into overcharge. Basically, you get a chance of it being a much larger, and also more shock chance. Yeah, this does me absolutely fine for clearing maps. I've actually used this sometimes to take down multiple like boss level enemies at once if I can get them all together. Now, an ability I started using yesterday, and I've actually come to really, really like, is the black hole. Yeah, black hole. And what I've done with this is I've gone for maximum duration and distance. So I've gone down here to stability, which is extra duration. Endless Maw, lower the duration. Does have a longer cooldown. That's not much of an issue. Weakened Reality, which gives a little bit extra damage, but you need the 2 points to get up to Singularity, which gives you an extra 50% damage. Now, what I've done it to the right, I've put 5 points into Intensity, which increases the pull strength. This will affect bosses. So this is fantastic for a mage, especially when you've got to get those bosses that will chase you halfway across the map just to hit you once and kill you. You can just keep casting this on them and they'll get stuck and allow you to just take them down. Also with that, 5 points into Massive. Extra area, basically more enemies are pulled in, more crowd control. And then I put 1 point into Drift and Singularity, where basically if you cast it and for whatever reason it's not near an enemy, it will move towards enemies. This will also continuously keep up with enemies that are trying to pull out of it. So like especially boss level enemies, they will actually be able to pull themselves out of the black hole. This will keep moving with them and keep them locked in place. So that's it, guys. That is the skills. Going into the passive tree, we are looking at 35 in Mage, and what I've done here, I've put 5 points into Arcanist. I will probably finish leveling this out once I get more levels, but at the moment levels are taking a long time to get. I have put 5 points into Mage Flurry. I've been trying to maximize my cast speed, so this gives you plus 50% cast speed. I've put 10 points into Reactive Ward just to help with survivability. This is actually really nice. Basically, if you drop below 70%, you get 200 ward bang off the dot. It's essentially, it keeps you alive. Yes, it has a cooldown, but as long as you're using a teleport right, you should be able to get out of trouble quickly. I've also put 5 points into Warden, extra ward retention. I don't have great ward retention, so literally every little helps. It's something I have been working on, trying to make this build more survivable. As I've gone up levels, I found that having straight damage is nice, but being able to survive missions is nicer. So I've actually dropped quite a lot of skill power. You'll see it in 2 seconds. So my next one is 10 points in Knowledge of Destruction. Maximize your critical strike and critical multiplier. And that'll be you for your mage. You actually only need 20 points in Mage to move to Sorcerer, so you maybe don't need to put all this in. If you're just leveling up, you don't need to put the Safe Hands and stuff into Reactive Ward or Warden. This is just because I need these for this level that I'm doing. So So we're going into Sorcery here. Now what I've done in Sorcerer is, there's certain nodes in Sorcerer which are a must-have. So you're going to have Calculated Destruction, which is 160% extra critical hit strike. I put 5 points into Arcane Momentum. This is fantastic. What this does is it gives you Arcane Momentum. Basically, you get 25% extra cast speed whenever you cast a spell. So it's up all the time. So that's 25% from there. I get 15% from there. And then I have a few other items as well, which gives me more. I've had almost 70% cast speed from when I've procced this. And, I mean, that's essentially 70% extra damage. 70% extra base damage, because you're casting 70% faster. It's actually really good. You want 10 points into Wisdom. It gives you a bunch of intelligence and a bunch of mana. I still need to have my mana over 300. I actually have about 320, so I'm really happy with that. I can actually lose some mana that I can, like, next time I roll items, I don't need to worry too much about rolling mana onto them. I have put 8 points into this one that nobody can pronounce, which gives you basically just a straight damage to your lightning and also shock chance, which is a really nice kind of dot which decreases the enemy's elemental resistance, I believe. 5 points into Rift Bolt, which helps with penetration, and also you get damage life leech. So basically, the second my ward is empty, I am continuously bringing back hundreds of health. The only thing that would risk me then would be instant kills, and that's where things like this saved my life. I do still die, but it's a lot less common now than it used to be. I've also put 8 points into Crackling Precision. Now, as we went through this the other day, you get 80% critical strike chance unless it's a lightning skill, in which case it's 160% extra critical chance. So, considering all my skills are magic, all my skills are lightning, yeah, so it's a huge buff. And then 5 points into Arcane Obliteration. Again, just a 50% extra buff to your spell critical multiplier. Basically means that my stuff is doing between 2,000 and 3,000 crits. Might not sound like a lot, but I'm hitting a lot of times, so it adds up. I have put 5 points into Spellslinger. This is actually a really, really nice skill. This is also, again, 15% extra cast speed, plus 5% adaptive spell damage. Adaptive spell damage is really, really nice, because it's a base damage, which then everything is multiplied from. I put, again with that, 5 more points into Archmage, which you get triple if you have over 200 mana, which I do, so that's actually 15% extra adaptive spell damage. Again, might not sound like a lot, but remember, everything's getting calculated from your base damage. So yeah, it's very important to kind of build on that. And then 4 points into Recollection. Increases cooldown recovery speed by 20%. That's really nice, especially when you've maxed out like the cooldown for your teleport. Basically, it's always available if I need it. So that's what you want. So that's that, guys. That is the passive skill tree. What I was meaning with my abilities here, as you can see, I have no extra spell damage. My lightning damage, I had it up to 800%. Now it's gone down to 604, and yet I can still clear missions, no problem. Now, one thing I will tell you guys, which I learned recently, is there is a cap on resistances. Not just like here you get 75%, and then below that is a number 83%. So I actually have 83% resistance. So basically what will happen is I will get hit by a lightning ability for 75 damage, right? That will ignore it. If I get hit by a lightning ability which also shreds lightning resist by 10%, I will still ignore it. If I get hit by one that does 15%, I will take 2 damage, if that makes sense. There's actually a cap on the maximum overcap, which I believe is 40. So it's about 115. If you have anything over 115, that's a waste. I didn't know this. So I was stacking into here, thinking I was doing good, when I basically was wasting my time. But I'm going to press a button and watch these resistances, right? You see that? So basically, whenever I activate one of my abilities, I don't need to worry about these elements. The only ones I do need to worry about are these ones here. Physical, I've got quite nice here. I'm working on the others. Void seems to be quite important, but I just need to get the gear for it, basically. I'm looking for better stuff to help with these. So yeah, I'm only sitting at 24% critical strike chance for spells, which is actually really nice, and then 230% critical multiplier. I've got an increased cast speed here of 36%. I don't think... Oh, it does. 61%. But it does go down. Yeah. So 61% pretty much all the time increased cast speed. That is a huge increase in DPS. But, and this is where the mana regeneration, the mana reduction becomes important, it does suck mana quite a lot more because you're casting a lot more. And again, it's just because of the level of the enemies that I'm working with when I'm going into like maps, and enemies are got, you know, probably hundreds of thousands of health. So yeah, that is that. Looking at my gear, it's quite similar to what I had the other day. When it comes to my idols, I've put on just basically as much lightning damage as possible. This one here is quite nice. It gives me extra leech, so that's always handy. These two here, though, I think I showed them as well. I've got a chance to cast Fire Order with the extra ability there where I need 300 mana. Same with this one as well. Fire Order, increase to mana. I'm obviously looking for these higher ones. So yeah, when it comes to my items, I have changed some things slightly. I've still got the same staff. I haven't found anything better than this. This thing, I love this thing. When I got it, I was so happy. I have got this helmet. Now, the reason I'm using this is not only because it's actually rather large buff to my defense, there's, you know, a huge amount of armor. Dexterity isn't needed. Intelligence is nice. 12 plus 12 intelligence is really, really good. That'd be like a god level roll on a rare. It's a little bit necrotic resistance, which is one of my weakest ones, but also the ward per second. That is why I now have 115 base ward at all times, apart from when it gets damaged. That I really like. I've got a really, really nice purple helmet that is more aimed at mages, but I tried that and I didn't like it. It had much higher damage, but I had no ward, like, to start with. So yeah, I've stuck with that, but none of this is what I would say is necessary. There's some things that I'll show you that are very, very nice, but none of this is unnecessary for this build. My amulet is just one I rolled myself, which gives me lightning damage, critical strike chance, mana, and mana efficiency. It's just all really nice, helpful stuff. Now, this is where another thing that I found out is quite very, very important. I'm going to show you. It's this critical strike avoidance. Now, what this does is, you know, it's actually self-explanatory here. Basically, if you have 100% critical strike avoidance, you cannot be critically struck. So, all those times you ran about and suddenly died from one hit, that was because an enemy managed to critically strike. I can't speak today. I have 100% critical hit strike avoidance from this one item. Now, with this, I have increased health, I have leech, I have increased leech rate, and the critical strike avoidance. This is possibly the thing that keeps me alive more than anything else. I would love it if I had like a bit of damage on it, but it keeps me alive. It gives me the strike avoidance. This, I would say, is important because it's one item that gives me the 100%, which means I can focus on like upping my other abilities on other items. But apparently, critical strike avoidance is one of the must-have attributes, so it's quite rare. So if I was you guys, I'd sort out a loot filter to pick up as many items with it as possible and break those items down to get the shards to then add it to other items that you want. So that's a little tip for you guys that I've learned in hindsight. When it comes to my belt, I was really happy when I got this, plus 25 elemental resistance across the board. I've got extra damage there, ward gained on potion use, which is handy, and void resistance, which is one of the ones I'm weakest on. Now, my rings, I would say, are a very nice option to have for a lightning build. So yeah, 75% elemental resistance whilst channeling. That's why both my abilities are now channeled abilities rather than just cast. So 24% chance to gain 30 ward when hit whilst channeling, and 54% increased lightning damage. Now I have 2 of them. Yeah, my unique ring, I have 2 of them. Yeah, I reckon that'll probably get changed. I reckon it'll probably make a thing saying you can only have 1 unique item on at a time, like 1 of the same type. But that is why my resistances go ridiculous when I'm casting my abilities. But it works really, really well because they're both aimed at channeled abilities, and as I said, both my abilities are channeled, so it's just they work in tandem with each other. Now my relic here is a really, really nice one here. I've had it for a while. I do have one in my stash that has a higher resistances, but it has lower mana. Speaking of which, actually, I don't need that mana, so where is my stash? I've just thought of this. Because I've been building up my mana in other ways, I could... Nope. I mean, it's a tiny amount, but yeah, let's do that, because other than that, there's no other differences. It's just increased mana. Sorry, increased, because I've still got over 300. So yeah, that's fine. Tiny bit better there. That's what this game is, guys. Just working up tiny little steps at a time, and eventually you'll just get better. Better gear. So yeah, what this does is basically I get a bit extra mana. I also get a bit of resistance, which is really, really nice, and cold and lightning. So I get cold damage, lightning damage, cold resistance, lightning resistance, and then whenever I hit a boss or rare enemy, I get a water orb. Now, there doesn't seem to be any visual cue when you get this, but this does knock me up to about 1000% extra skill damage, sorry, lightning damage. Or close to. It might be a little bit lower than that now. It used to get me over 1000, but I have brought my damage back to up my defenses. So yeah, I have found quite a few of these, so they're not that rare. I've found about 4 or 5 of these over the course of my playtime. So when you get one, if you're aiming to build a mage build, definitely keep it and use it. When it comes to my boots, these are quite standard. 36% physical resist, cold resist on the boot itself, and then extra movement speed, which I would always try and get on a boot because it's it's a quality of life, but it's actually a big issue. So that's 27% extra movement speed from that. 1 vitality, not an issue, and then +6 intelligence, which is nice. And the last thing is my gloves, which I've been trying to work on getting better gloves. I haven't found anything that I wanted to keep that was like a relic or whatnot. But this gives me 1 intelligence. It broke before I was able to roll better. Better cast speed, which is nice. But it also gives me plus 23% void resistance and plus 13% poison resistance. Again, 2 of the ones I'm weakest on. So that is that, guys. That is my gear. And yeah, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to jump into a mission and I'll give you a little show. And I'm just going to kind of cut to that because I do that so if I die in the mission, I can just play it until I don't die, so it looks like I know what I'm doing. Alright, see you in a minute. Okay, so here we are. This is about a level 80 level dungeon. A dungeon, you know what I mean? I keep messing up. You can see down the right side the kind of buffs that the enemy have. So they got extra movement speed and damage. What you will notice, I don't actually use my black hole all that much, but it is pretty handy. But I use it mostly when bosses come in because it completely controls the boss and keeps him locked in place. Oh, these guys are quite nasty actually. That's one of the big ones I think. Oh, yeah, these guys are really nasty. I think I'm too far away. These guys can go straight through my resistances for some reason. Excuse me whilst I concentrate. These guys, I don't know why, but they're just really difficult for me to deal with. But yeah, that's it. So you can see, actually, I mean, I had a bit of trouble with the boss, but that's because that boss is, I think that boss must have really high resistances. And I think that's why I struggle with them. I might stay on for a little bit longer, because that went a little bit quicker than I thought it would. So I'm just going to do a little bit of an exploration, see what's about. So you guys can see a bit more of the build. So 61% extra cast speeds, potentially up to 900% extra damage without the water orb. Now the only thing I am working on now is I'm trying to build up my ward. That is, I've been watching some videos online and I don't know if they maybe just nerfed something in 8.8. But these guys, I see them running about like 4,000 ward, and I'm sitting here with like 400 at most. Like, I don't know. Like, apparently there's like items that change health into ward, which would be quite nice actually. Because if that means that leech then affects ward, then that actually is really nasty. Because I have a lot of leech. So yeah, that was the build, guys. That was a gameplay. So just kind of going through the build again. This is kind of the sorcerer one here, so you can have a look at that. Just pause it if you want to. And then you've got the mage one. As I said, you don't need to put stuff into here until later on. So when you're leveling up, I'd maybe just put stuff into Arcanist. This is one I've decided is better than this. As you can see, I've actually taken off Elementalist. I've taken off Brainstorm. I don't have anything in Elemental Ascendance. I don't have anything in Afterglow. I have nothing here in my passive skills, my passive skills that add any form of skill damage. All this comes from my items, mostly from these. This is giving me, what is it, 92% from that, and that's giving me 66%. I would love to get another one of them. And then you've got another 37% from that. I do have other ones that actually give damage, but I like the leech. So I could feasibly get more. What's that one? That's rubbish. Now, so what I did mention earlier was the loot filter. Now, this was tricky for me to figure out, but I'll run through the ones I'm using just now and why I'm using them. So if you go into the settings, you're just going to click on manage loot filters. Now, I have 3 active right now, right? Now, this one is just a choice. I've decided to ignore 2 of these because they never give me anything useful and they don't give you any money. So I just ignore the small, Iterin and the humble, but these are ones you could play with. Basically what you do is you make sure this is selected on hide. You select the item type, or you can select anything here you want, and then you select what you want to hide. You don't select the ones you want to keep because then you'll miss it. So I've chosen to hide them. I've also chosen to hide all normal, magic and rare. I only want to be finding unique, set and exalted items. I don't want to find anything else because it just completely clutters your map. You can't see anything. I've died more than once because I physically couldn't see what was attacking me. So yeah, that's something I had to do. You can, whilst you're in you can just press Z. Is it Z? These should be coming up, but they're not. Okay. Okay, well, they should have appeared when I pressed X, but they don't. There are some bugs in the game, guys. It is what it is. What I've also decided to do is completely recolor items that appear so that I don't miss them. This UI needs to get looked at, guys. Sometimes you click on things, like say if I was clicking here and I'd run up there and I'd end up starting a mission and I'm like, what the hell? And I'm in the middle of like putting in a setting. But anyway, So basically, what I would do is, so what I've done here is I've hide, rarity, and then I've just selected the free, normal, magic, and rare. Just because, as I said, they just clutter up too much of the space. You can't see what's going on. Too many, and I've shortened the names, which you can also do in settings as well. Basically, you don't get like such and such of such and such. You just get sword. You're just gonna get big sword, well, two-handed sword, and then the color ones as a choice. This took a little bit of work getting the hang of it because they don't really word it that well. What I think should have just been was you get a list and you tick. It's like you get like a list of like one-handed swords. Do you want to see it? Yes, no. Click. You tick the box you want, and that would have been a much simpler way of doing things. But I'm not a designer, so what do I know? Anyway, that's going to be it, guys. That's going to be the wee build there. Something I quite enjoyed. I really do enjoy running about with this build. I've done a lot of missions now. As I said, the next kind of goal for me is to finish getting these up to 75 and building up my ward so my character can actually survive higher up. I do currently still struggle with the bosses, simply because, as in most games, the bosses are kind of built heavily against mages or even rogues and such, because I need to move to stay alive, and there are some bosses where that's not an option. The Black Sun boss, if you've ever gone up against that one, that is an absolute nightmare. I believe that's the one, I've died quite a few times. I believe that's the one now I'm trying to beat to get to level 90 missions, and I die instantly from the AoE, even if it just brushes me. It's actually kind of broken. I mean, I've got plus 27% movement speed. I am literally hugging the thing, and I physically can't run around fast enough not to get hit by the AoE. Yeah, that's something I think they need to have a look at. It's just the bosses don't seem to be built very well when it comes to mages. Anyway, that's going to be the video, guys. But thank you for joining me. So this was just a little update, just after what I've learned over the last couple of days. I hope you learned something from this. I would say this is more medium to end game build, because of the way it's played. But what you could do, like if you're just leveling up, I would highly recommend just getting Lightning Blast rather than Arcane. Lightning Blast is what I used for ages, and it did me absolutely fine. I just find when it comes to high-end content that the Elemental Nova is better at clearing AoE, like groups of enemies, and the Disintegrate is better at dealing with single target. And that's why I built it entirely for single target damage. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.